let's bring in the country director of ActionAid, Andrew Mamedu. The group is marking the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight tonight.
Thank you very much.
Let's even start with that report that ActionAid commissioned in 2015 or so, coming up with a link between poverty and corruption, especially in public office. Let us into that report and how it further worsens poverty in countries like Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, in the money, the resources that we have and what we've been spending over the years, one of the major challenge that has been bedeviled us has been that the resources has not gone down to the desired persons. And several statistics exist that in some cases up to 50% of the resources does not get to where it ought to get to. And if you are spending $1 or you are spending 1,000 naira and only 500 naira is accounted for, you know the implication of that. So how do we maximize our resources and ensure that we get, virtually every country in the world, you have one level of corruption or the other. But the level of corruption in our own system, monetary corruption, of course, has huge impacts on the level of resources that trickles down to the social sector, the poor and the vulnerable at the end of the day. So if we get our money to work better, of course, level of poverty would naturally just reduce. That's the simple linkage.
And for you, at ActionAid, what are those actions or activities you think you're working perhaps with governments across the three levels that may ultimately help take people out of poverty?
So the first thing is, what are the causes of poverty? So the first thing is it's an issue of inequality. So it's about the distribution of wealth. So a situation where you have 1% of Nigeria controlling over 70% of the resources, then of course, how do you balance that? How do you make sure that there is redistribution of resources? There is issue of equity. So it's a case of those that have less, how do you give them a bit more? How do you tax from the very rich, extremely rich? How do you minimize tax holiday or eliminate tax holiday in some cases? And you're able to get those resources down there. So for ActionAid, what we do is majorly around policy work. Of course, we work with rural communities. So for instance, we work with smallholder women farmers, 2 million smallholder women farmers across this country, looking at how to increase yield. We know that if we deal with issue of hunger, yesterday was
World
Food Day, yes.
Yeah.
So yesterday was Food Day. So if we deal with hunger in the land, then clearly a high number of good number of poverty would have been dealt with. So multidimensional poverty covers education, health, and issues of economic benefits. So food falls under that category. So what we do with the smallholder women farmers is we build their capacity to have access to small scale businesses, to agro businesses that would benefit their family. They're able to sell those and be able to increase their yield at the end of the day. We have seen cases where agroecology, which is the natural way of farming rather than industrial agriculture, have been able to produce and feed the country. And these women are beginning to increase the sizes of their farm. They're beginning to get more resources come. So we've seen farmers grow from 10% resource to about 33% in terms of our target, and that is beginning to grow. So if we invest more there, we'll definitely see better results. Small and medium scale enterprise. So imagine we invest in 2 million small and medium scale enterprise, the multiplier effect of that across the economy. So those are the kind of things that ActionAid is doing, working with the government and various other stakeholders to see how to eradicate poverty. Can poverty be eradicated? Definitely it can be eradicated, but these are the actions that can lead us to those places.
Very good question, because exactly what I was going to ask you. How do you now eradicate poverty? Now this renewed hope cash transfer launched by the president, to what extent really can it deal a blow on poverty? Considering that, look, it's about transfer, the fundamental word there. Is it going to be transferred from, through the banks to the over 40 million unbanked Nigerians? How exactly do you think it's going to work?
Yeah,
do you think it will achieve the objective?
It would contribute to it, but it definitely will not eradicate poverty. Definitely, even the World Bank there knows that that cannot eradicate poverty. There are clear actions that you need to take to eradicate poverty, but it's just a bit of cushion. It's a social protection intervention. So we're starting, but 3 months is just. I think we can do better. So let me use positive words. So it's something we can do. We can do better. How do we extend this? So the last time we were doing 5,000 conditional cash transfer for 1 year, 2 years. Some people got that for that long, but 25,000 for a start, 75,000 in 3 months. Maybe to feed some of their family, to feed their family for those 3 months. So after that, what then happens? How do we ensure that these people get into sustainable livelihood? Right. So it's beyond just giving them 5,000 to feed themselves from now. Sustainable livelihood, and of course there are clear merchants and mechanisms for getting this cash to them, even the unbanked within this system. But the question is, are we the right people in that register? Are the registers being audited like the World Bank person said? How do we make sure that at the end of the day, the wrong persons, politicians and all that
don't make it into the books? But quickly here, before you leave, are there challenges or bottlenecks, in trying to work with the government or other agencies to see that these people, especially the smallholder farmers, the women you spoke about, are there challenges ActionAid is going through?
Yeah, definitely. Huge challenges. So one of the greatest challenge, of course, is the issue of insecurity. So the farmers are not able to farm as at when due. Right. Of course, we have the issue of rain season farming. So the reason why there are climes where they've gone away from that. They have all year round season farming. So we're getting to the point where how do we ensure that we have the right irrigation? The Lake Chad is a very big case in point that we can help to recharge. If we recharge the Lake Chad, currently it has dropped by 90%. Lake Chad would be able to feed between 30 to 50 million persons in 4 countries. So I think those are the things that people like the World Bank should be able to focus on. How do we recharge the Lake Chad? We require between, the last time it was checked, it started with $15 billion, but right now it has gone to $50 billion to recharge the Lake Chad. But that is not too much for the international community to look at, to make sure that we have access to food and livelihood for 50 million Africans.
Fantastic. Andrew Mamedu, Country Director, ActionAid. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.